The story I hear most often from my parents about the glory days of their early 20s involves a handful of kegs brimming with cheap beer, a giant sign proclaiming Toga tonight, and the apartment building my dad lived in the week before it was going to be torn down. The year was 1983. Animal House was like an actual place. My parents had no idea what the next 33 years would bring. They were young, in love, and looking for a good time. At the party, my dad apparently got nervous and no one was going to show up, so took it upon himself to make a dent in the beer. This excessive early drinking caused him to pass out by like 8:15. My mom says the party was an epic rager, but my dad slept through the whole thing. A few years later, because of a rainy camping trip and his incredible skills of persuasion, my parents had an accident that resulted in the miracle of their firstborn, me. We lived in a one-bedroom townhome in a shitty suburb of Denver. I had the bedroom while my parents bunked in the hallway. This is a fact that is interesting as an earthquake to every therapist I've ever seen. When my sister worked her way down from the stardust, she was a wishbone someone had already snapped. We took her home not knowing she was in pieces, and in 29 years, haven't quite gotten all of her back. But she remembers everyone's birthday and always sings show tunes in the car. She calls our mom like 10 times an hour, and y'all, that holy angel of a human answers. This is my family. Well, almost. My mom remarried a man with a mustache and a personality that makes my teeth itch. A few years ago, I used all my powers to arrange a steamy love affair between her and a sexy blast from her past. It didn't work because she is too dang good of a person. My dad, he remarried a saint. There's a handful of step-siblings I wouldn't mind sweeping under the rug. It's not that I think they are worthless as dust, but sometimes it feels like we are a house but with too many bricks when the cancer came back. I was the only one of us in the waiting room, holding hands with a woman from the HR department, doing her darndest to smooth out the wrinkles in the protocol the surgeon had just walked all over when he told me in the middle of a crowded hallway that my dad had an expiration date shorter than the hair on his head. I used to be a preschool teacher, and a little girl once asked if I think God ever takes a vacation. The answer is absolutely yes. The last time I saw him out of the house, I took him to the movies. I watched him lay his pride to rest and let me wheel him to the theater. I had to step back into the hallway weeping like a monsoon as if this disease was the worst thing that had ever happened to me. Selfish as a prayer. I spent nearly an hour once scrubbing his blood out of an old rag that could have more easily been thrown away, wrist deep in a sink stained with red as if his life depended on me being able to get it clean. The thing about grief is that it just never sleeps. It is an all-night party, and every last one of your bones was invited. I gave the eulogy at his funeral, which is a hell I do not wish on anyone, but it just seemed right, being that I speak for a living. Later that day, I hung a giant sign on the outside of his house that said, "Toga tonight." Everyone showed up in their very best bed sheets. We all drank too much beer, and my dad, true to form, he slept through the whole thing. Thank you so much.